In 1901, Andrew Carnegie sold his steel empire for $480 million. In today's money, that's a $300 billion bank account. But Carnegie didn't go on a spending spree. He went on a panic. He spent the rest of his life desperately trying to give it all away before he died. The question is, was he being generous, or was he trying to bribe God? To understand the size of Carnegie's guilt, we have to look at the size of the bill he was trying to pay. This isn't just a biography. It's an audit of a man who believed that the man who dies rich dies disgraced. But as we're about to find out, some debts can't be settled with a checkbook. Carnegie didn't just climb a ladder. He built it out of iron and then sold it to the world. He started as a bobbin boy for $1.20 a week. But he had a financial ghost in his head. He saw the future in railroads and the bones of those railroads in steel. By 33, he was making $50,000 a year in 1860s money. That's $1 million salary today, before he even started his main act. How do you become the richest man in history? You don't just innovate, you squeeze. Carnegie's mills ran 24 hours a day, 364 days a year. The only day they stopped was the 4th of July. His workers weren't people, they were inputs. To Carnegie, a cent saved on a worker's wage wasn't just profit, it was a moral duty to the efficiency of the empire. Then came July 1892. Homestead, Pennsylvania. Carnegie wanted a wage cut. The workers wanted a union. Carnegie's solution? He went on vacation to a remote castle in Scotland and left the execution to his partner, Henry Clay Frick. When the smoke cleared from the gunfight between workers and Pinkerton mercenaries, 9 men were dead. Carnegie was in Scotland, but the blood on his ledger was in America. This is where the audit begins. While the smoke was still clearing over Homestead, Carnegie wasn't hiding in silence. He was weaponizing philosophy. He leaned on Herbert Spencer's social Darwinism, the idea that the strong should win. To Carnegie, his wealth wasn't a sin, it was proof he was the most evolved man in the room. But there was a glitch in his logic. He was a Presbyterian at heart, and the old Scotch-Irish proverbs were screaming, "You can't take it with you." In 1889, he dropped the ultimate manifesto, the Gospel of Wealth. He claimed the millionaire is but a trustee for the poor. It sounded revolutionary. He argued that a rich man shouldn't give his workers a raise, because they just wasted on spirits. Instead, he should build them a library. It was the ultimate father knows best strategy. He was taking their earned wages and deciding how their souls should be spent. But here's the guilt check reality. Was this a man finding his soul, or a man building a fortress for his reputation? Carnegie knew that Steel King sounded like a villain. But great philanthropist? That sounded like a saint. He wasn't just giving away money, he was buying a 100-year insurance policy on his name. The audit reveals a man who feared the history books more than he feared the strikebreakers. Carnegie didn't just give money away, he industrialized philanthropy. He treated libraries like steel mills, standardized, efficient, and everywhere. But there was a catch, the Carnegie formula. He would provide the building, but the town had to provide the books and the taxes to run it. It was a partnership of penance. For every dollar he gave, he demanded a lifetime commitment from the public to maintain his name in stone. He turned his sights to the high altars of society, education, and world peace. He founded Carnegie Mellon and the Peace Palace at The Hague. He was trying to solve the world's most expensive problems with a fountain pen. But the irony was thick. The man whose steel armored the world's warships was now writing checks to end all wars. Was it a change of heart, or was he trying to dismantle the very military-industrial complex that made him the king of steel? As the checks reached the hundreds of millions, Carnegie's personal life became a race against the clock. He was obsessed with the idea of the disgraceful death. By 1919, he had given away $350 million, the equivalent of 90% of his fortune. He had successfully emptied his pockets. But as he sat in his mansion, the echoes of the Homestead Strike still lingered in the press. He had balanced the financial ledger, but the moral ledger was still up for debate. If success is measured by impact, the guilt check was a triumph. Carnegie didn't just give money, he created a self-sustaining engine of upward mobility. 2,509 libraries, 7,000 church organs. The Carnegie Mellon University. For a kid in a dirt-poor neighborhood in 1920, that library wasn't PR, it was a portal to a different life. He essentially invented the billionaire blueprint that everyone from Bill Gates to Warren Buffett follows today. But here is the counter-audit. There is a fundamental difference between generosity and justice. Generosity is giving what you own. Justice is giving what you owe. Critics argue Carnegie was giving away money that never belonged to him in the first place. It belonged to the men who worked 12-hour days in 120-degree heat for pennies while he lived in a castle. He was charitable with their sweat and kind with their blood. You can't buy a clean conscience with stolen wages. So, did the check clear? Andrew Carnegie died of bronchial pneumonia in 1919. His last days were spent in quiet reflection, far from the roar of the furnaces. He left the world a wealthier place, but he also left us with a haunting question that defines the modern age. Can a lifetime of good deeds ever truly erase a single day of violence? We enjoy the libraries, but we still remember the guns at Homestead. Perhaps the guilt check didn't succeed or fail. It just became the permanent tension of the American dream. August 11, 1919. Shadowbrook, Massachusetts. The man who once controlled the thunder of the blast furnace died in the quiet of a summer morning. He had successfully divested himself of over $350 million. On paper, he had beaten the disgrace he so feared. But as the news hit the wires, the world didn't just look at the checks. They looked at the scars. Carnegie's institutions were designed to be engines of progress, and they worked. Millions of lives were changed by the books he bought. But wealth is a strange time machine. It can build a future, but it can't actually rewrite the past. You can't build enough libraries to bring back the men of 1892. This is the guilt check paradox. The more he gave, the more he reminded us of what it cost to get that money in the first place. Today, Carnegie's name is synonymous with generosity. The blood has faded, the stone remains. But as we look at the billionaires of our own age, the audit continues. Is philanthropy a doorway to a better world, or a shield against accountability? Andrew Carnegie gave us the libraries to find the answer for ourselves. The ledger is closed. The verdict is yours. I'm your host, and this was Time Recalls, where forgotten truths return to shape tomorrow. If you want to uncover more stories that change the world, hit subscribe. Stay tuned, because the next untold story is already waiting to be uncovered.